Extra, extra, read all about it. Katniss Everdeen at District 12 is making big moves, changing the very fabric of Panem as we know it. She's making decisions. She is choosing between Gale and Peta. Find out tonight on Marathon Me.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Here's the first movie.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Peel that pig and slice him thick.
The body count is always bigger.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
And the fucking trees walked in those movies.
Hi, doggy.
What a story, Mark.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled.
It's just like your opinion, man.
Life moves pretty fast.
If you want your sequel to become a franchise.
37 dicks.
In a row?
I'm your number one fan.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Marathon Me with your hosts Rhys
And Kane.
And we're moving on in our Hunger Games marathon to the next chapter, The Hunger Games, How to Kill a Mockingjay. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2. It's a double episode, baby.
I'm sorry, you're telling me that this movie is not a court drama about race relations? Are you kidding me?
Oh, did you watch the wrong movie?
Yeah, what the hell? Dude, I was wondering I was wondering why Jennifer Lawrence wasn't in this, and Peter was and Josh Hutcherson was replaced by Gregory Peck. What the fuck? Great movie, but I was so confused.
Oh, okay. Cut the recording. We've got to watch a whole different movie now. Fuck.
Well, no.
What did you watch? What did you watch as the second part?
Well, I just watched it again.
Oh,
I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
Damn. Okay. Well. Okay. Let's. I feel like that we can reserve this. We can fix it up as we go along. You just
we can fix it up.
Along,
just
right?
talk. Well, yeah. Well, I'll just read the Wikipedia as we're going along.
Yeah. Okay.
So my first thoughts that I want to get out is that this is following yet another popular YA movie adaptation trend that was big in the 2010s, splitting the last book into two parts. Why the hell are they doing this? Why are all of these series doing this? Why? Why are they doing it?
Well, I got one answer for you. Money.
Oh,
it's
big
for
money,
the
big
money.
Literally, one of my notes is it just says, "I know why they did this. Big money, big money, big money," all in caps 3 times.
Oh my god! Well,
oh my lord!
Yeah, so it really would have been a revelation when you found that out. I'm guessing you're like, "Oh my god, I figured it out. I know why."
Big money. Oh no, but yeah, it does. Look, it makes a lot of sense that obviously after the success of what Harry Potter did, every other movie series wanted to try doing this. Twilight did it. Hunger Games did it. I'm sure Divergent would have tried doing it if if the final movie wasn't fucking cancelled.
Well, here's the question though, right? Do you think it was necessary? What do you think of this splitting into 2 parts?
No. I don't think it was necessary at all, to be honest. I think there's a lot of I think that the 2 parts are very different movies entirely when splitting the final book into 2 parts. One of them is a very slow-paced, almost political drama, and then the second one is just a weird balls-to-the-wall action fest, which do not really... They kind of don't blend well together, but then again, I feel like even if they were one movie, it would still feel very odd, especially if it was, keeping within the 2.5-hour runtime. So, I guess, it's the better option of the two? I guess? I don't know. These are very strange movies, Rhys. Do you agree?
These are very strange movies. I think that they could have put this story, meshed it together, made it in 2.5 hours, and it'd be fine. I don't think it needs all the stuff that we do get from it, because also all the, relationship building that we get from, Peter and Katniss already is sort of, sufficient to sort of, bring it home with that plot line, I believe. The Revolution stuff is, no way, because the whole team is already together at the start of this, right?
Yeah.
And because all the main players are in their place, they could totally get to the end of a revolution by the end of this film, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that this is what you're getting at, that it doesn't need to be 2 parts, right? Because I definitely don't think it needs to be. But you know who else didn't think it needed to be 2 parts?
The director.
The director. Yeah.
Yes.
Because good old Francis Lawrence, it's one of apparently the biggest mistakes of his career, he said, is that he wishes that he did not go along with what the studio was urging for him to do, to split these into 2 parts.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that offends me the most out of these 2 parts being separate films is not just the pacing, not just the filler that it feels like it was put in there, but the lack of distinction between these 2 parts, I feel. I really feel like that aesthetically, there is definitely a shift from Catching Fire to the Mockingjay films, because it becomes a lot more sort of sterile and feels like a bit more of a mature tone, more somber, harsh.
Yeah.
It's almost like shit is getting real now. It's a lot less interpersonal. A lot less interpersonal, and it's far more like, okay, we're gonna, like, it's time that we're now changing the world. Big moves are happening.
It's like, it's the Deathly Hallows effect of this series, where, like, Deathly Hallows Part 1 is, like, a lot more grim, somber, and taking things really seriously. So obviously they wanted to kind of like capture that same general energy with this movie. Do you like the tone that these later movies, especially like Part 1, take compared to Catching Fire? Do you like it?
I actually quite liked it until it became very stale very quickly, I think.
Yeah, I feel the same. I really appreciate what they were going for with this darker, more serious tone, but because these movies are really, because like especially Part 1, because it's like, you know, the first half of the book, after a point it just feels so dragged out. I wouldn't say that Part 1 is a slog to get through, but it does get a bit tiresome after a while, and it's kind of left a bit and a lot of the plot just feels like it's just meandering along, just kind of just doing random things, random tangents, and just seeing what sticks.
Well, before we continue on, here's a little bit of a taste of Mockingjay Part 1 with the trailer.
I never wanted any of this. I never wanted to be in the games. I just wanted to save my sister and keep Peta alive.
Miss Everdeen, it's the things we love most that destroy us.
Everyone who's watching to lay down their weapons now.
You're alive.
Peta is the Capitol's weapon, the same way you're ours.
You will rescue Peta at the earliest opportunity, or you will find another Mockingjay.
It definitely does meander and is far slower than it needs to be. Like, mature doesn't need to be like a snail's pace, where there's not too many developments that sort of occur in this first part, right?
Yeah.
The production at times also just looks straight out of Alien, like because it doesn't feel like that you're in the world of Panem anymore. It feels like that you're just like in. I hate the setting of like a base, like an underground hidden base that you always get those in fucking Marvel movies, especially around the time of like Avengers and stuff. You would always get like with all these screens all over the place, and there's like no natural lighting at all, and it just feels so claustrophobic and sterile, right? So sterile.
Yeah, completely agree. It's also it's another thing that is present a lot in the Transformers movies, where a lot of the scenes take place in these like military bases, and like they're talking about plans and intel and all that crap in these very just like uninspired locations, where especially compared to the previous film where it was popping with color and beautiful landscapes. The fact that like half this movie takes place in an underground bunker is so it's so visually unappealing, and especially because like half of Part 1, like there's a lot of scenes in Part 1 where they have interesting landscapes. When they go to District 12, when it's in rubble, That's interesting. Like that, I'm watching the scene of like Katniss exploring District 12, and I'm like, wow, this is powerful. I'm somewhat moved by this. And then no, we're back to the underground bunker. Talk about more plans of revolution and all that crap. Like I'm just like, okay, we're back to the boring stuff. Well, not boring stuff, but like the uninteresting stuff.
Okay, my thoughts on that is that, like, yeah, there's so much of just, like, interior underground bunker that feels very much like it looks aesthetically just like the Apple TV Plus show Silo. If anyone has seen that, it looks just like that. And you feel like that you're thirsting to get out of this sort of claustrophobic interior, and then you eventually do go outside with exploring District 12. But I didn't like that it like all the color is gone as well, and it just looks like a desert. It looks like an Afghanistan movie. Like it looks like a movie about the Afghanistan war or something.
Yeah, it feels like it does kind of feel like you're watching something like American Sniper or some shit.
And it doesn't help that also now like the new design of all the characters are that they're all like, oh, they're mercs now that have assault rifles as they're going around and armor, and it just feels like this isn't the appeal, the visual appeal of this franchise so far. How jarring is it too that we go in the marathoning process of this franchise, you go from catching fire, a lush jungle environment with like this big sort of body of water in the middle, to then sterile interiors and then a deserty like exterior, and that's pretty much all that you see.
Yeah, and meanwhile, all like and you know, we had like all the unique costumes in the first movie, and then the cool like wetsuit outfits in part 2, to now just lame black army gear type thing. Like it's very it's not very inspired. I feel, you know, it just feels a bit generic, you know.
Oh, totally. And that's why, like, it's difficult for me to distinguish almost these two parts, because it doesn't feel like there's a distinct enough stylistic transition over into the second one. And like it of course it's not going to feel that distinct if the actual film itself feels very, very dry and hollow. So it is just a bit of a bore. Part 1, right?
Yeah. Like, honestly, I was actually really excited to go into part 1 because from what I knew that this was kind of like the one that people like the least popular in the series. And I'm always very interested into going into series where, you know, we explore a movie where it's like either the most hated or like the forgotten one of the series or whatever. And I was keen on going into it because, here's an example. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is my favorite Harry Potter movie, yet it's the one that a lot of the fan base really don't enjoy or call it filler. Because, in a way, it kind of is, but I find it the most enjoyable for me personally. And I was kind of hoping for that kind of similar effect with part 1, where it's like, I'm like, wow, this is really underrated. I really enjoy this. And while I will say, I don't think it's a bad movie per se. I just think it's just a movie that purely exists. It's just a movie that exists just to support part 2. It doesn't it doesn't really stand on its own. This is how I feel about this movie, the same way how you feel about Across the Spider-Verse. If we want to make a comparison, where it doesn't feel like a complete movie.
I can admit that Across the Spider-Verse, I think, is far superior to this. Because
good. I would certainly hope so.
There's at least a little bit of standalone stuff in Across the Spider-Verse, I feel. There's a lot of
standalone stuff, but that's a conversation for another day.
Well, there is standalone stuff, but ultimately unsatisfied by the ultimate conclusion of it. But with this, you've got really, like, fucking nothing to grab onto. How unsatisfying would it be seeing this in a cinema after being really hyped up from Catching Fire, and then being like, we have to wait another year for something to happen? What?
Oh, my lord, yeah, it's, something else. I mean, oh, God, yeah, it's very frustrating.
You know the edge that I would give this part 1, part 2 dynamic above Across the Spider-Verse?
What?
is that at least going into this, though, it is called Mockingjay Part 1. It's not called Mockingjay, and then you get to the end of the movie, and then it has a title, and then Part 1, like, fucking forms out of dust or something. Where that is why I felt so fucked over by Across the Spider-Verse, is that it's only at the end, is that the plot twist is that you don't get an ending. And that I don't like, that is a terrible surprise. That is like, you're playing Pass the Parcel or something, and you're having a really, really fun time. You keep on unwrapping layer after layer. Oh my god, it's getting close to the bottom layer, and it's coming up to me, come on. And then you unwrap the last layer of paper, and then it's like, the surprise is there's nothing in there. What?
Ooh, damn.
Okay, this was fun playing this, but I can't help but have blue balls from this game of Pass the Parcel, because there isn't anything in the fucking parcel. Anyway.
Well, hang on. Hey, we gotta save our Across the Spider-Verse fight for when we marathon the Spider-Verse trilogy, alright?
But at least, like, well, here it's a bit like that as well, though, right? Is that there's nothing in the center of this Pass the Parcel game besides a key that you can use in a year's time to unlock a safe which has the actual Pass the Parcel in it.
Yeah.
And that is Mockingjay Part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
What a contrived metaphor.
It works. It's contrived, sure, but it works. It's good. It's interesting. It's an interesting metaphor, Rhys.
One thing that I did like about Part 1 is that I think it's interesting the narrative direction taken here with Katniss's fame and cultural currency still being used, but now very much in service of the rebellion. That is... I'm really liking in this franchise what they're doing and saying about... the currency of fame, right? And how powerful one can be with that. It keeps on doing that here, to the point that, like, Katniss, what it really builds up is that she is a symbol of the rebellion. Her as the Mockingjay is like the human embodiment of of rebelling against the cause.
Yeah.
Which I think quite cool. I do like that. Thumbs up for me.
Yeah, no, that is good. I was doing some research about like research and reviews and all that, and I found like an interesting point that that made me think is that she's not only like kind of the face of the rebellion, but like they're almost like kind of they're not really using, like, thinking of her as a person. They're just using her as almost like a tool and all that. Like, yeah, she's a symbol and all that, but like in a very objective, like they're almost like using her as like an object and all that. Like, where, like, for example, we have, you remember the scene where I think they were like chilling by the river and Katniss is like singing like a sad song, kind of like lamenting about, all the stuff that she's gone through and all that she's lost.
Yeah.
She's like, singing that, and it's like a really nice, genuine moment, and then the war effort uses it as like a form of propaganda. This sorrowful, mournful moment that Katniss is having, where she's singing this song and lamenting about all the shit that she's gone through. It's then used it's then kind of like reverse engineered into this fuck yeah moment where this is our theme song. This is our theme song against the system, where they're using something that is personal for Katniss and using it in a very objectifying way. Like, they're not considering her as a person, they're just using her as a tool, almost.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, I think.
Which does kind of make sense as to why they kind of treat her this way, especially what is revealed in Part 2, especially with, like, the leader of this revolution, President Coin.
Did you find that this film built up her as such an important character in the franchise?
Not really. Not in this one, no.
Yeah, I agree, man. I didn't even think that she was that important.
She just comes... No, because, like, she comes out of the woodwork, out of nowhere, and...
She pops up right at the beginning, though, right?
But there's no build-up to it. It's just like, here is President Coin, and she's important. Why? Because she's important. She's leading the resistance. And I'm like, okay... and?
There's nothing that strikes me as powerful about her character.
Apart from the fact that the movie's telling you she's in charge. That's it.
Yeah, I don't feel any of that. I don't feel that she's pulling any of the strings. That's where part 1 really fails. It was only later in part 2 that I sort of went, oh, okay, she must be important then.
Yeah.
I think probably the best way to, or like a really succinct way to place how Katniss exists in the rebellion is that she's an ambassador, right? Like she's just an ambassador that people like look up to and enjoy her celebrity status. And then attach themselves to her because of that, so they just use her as an ambassador, right? It's the same thing for like we organize some ambassadors for like film festivals and things that we will organize at work, and the ambassadors actually don't really have much to do with the actual film festival going on. All that they're there to do is to be like, I stand by the cause. And the ambassadors are usually celebrities that people like to get attention for the festival. By people that look up to those celebrities, right? Like for the French Film Festival, we had like David Wenham as our ambassador, who wasn't in any of the films, didn't direct any of the films or anything like that. But then, like people that are fans of David Wenham will see him if he's in a magazine or something and be like, oh, he's connected to French Film Festival. Okay, there's a French Film Festival going on. That's what Katniss is, right? She's just like just an idea more than anything else, more than a person. Yeah.
Yeah. She's just a symbol. Yeah, almost like a mascot in a sense.
Yeah.
She's a mascot of the revolution rather than an actual proper figurehead in the revolution.
And really, other than that, I don't think this film has much else to really say or do. I really don't.
Not really. Like, did I have fun watching it? Sure, but it is definitely it's probably the worst in the series. I'm gonna say, in my opinion. What do you agree, Rhys? Do you like this more than the original?
Ooh, nah.
Because you got it. Nah. Look, again, I'll give the movie props that I appreciate what it was trying to go for and doing something trying to be completely fucking different from what came before. I appreciate the ambition that this film had, but I didn't really get a lot out of it, and I'm sad because I really wanted to like this movie because it's the most maligned out of the series, and I really wanted to get the Half-Blood Prince experience or the Deathly Hallows Part 1 experience where I consider this an underrated gem. But unfortunately, I'm with the rest of the fans on this. It's just kind of there. It just kind of exists.
Just with Peter being gone for a lot of it, and just sort of
my God, yeah,
being brainwashed by the Capitol. I think that the lack of Peter was noticeable because I like Peter quite a lot in these movies.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And you know what else? You know what else makes me realize? I don't really like Gale. There's nothing to him. I feel he's very
completely. He's a husk.
He's just a good-looking block of wood. That's it.
Yeah, completely.
We only get we'll discuss it later, but we get some shreds of character in part 2. But barely anything in that either. Gale's just there.
Yeah. I had anticipation for part 2 because at the end of part 1, Peter comes back. He comes back,
yes,
but he seems to be addicted to crack or heroin or something, and chokes out Katniss, and that's pretty much where the film ends, right? And then we move on to part 2. Are you ready to do the same?
Yes, I am. I cannot wait to watch this movie after the part 1 ended with Peter tweaking in a bed.
Yeah. Well, here's a bit of the trailer of Mockingjay Part 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 76th Hunger Games.
Got one shot.
Let's make it count.
Nothing good is safe while he's alive. Snow has to pay for what he's done.
Our lives were never ours. They belong to Snow, and our deaths do too. But if you kill him, Katniss, if you end all of this, all those deaths, they mean something.
Tonight, turn your weapons to the Capitol. Turn your weapons to snow.
So, Mockingjay Part 2 keeps the post-apocalyptic feel going, but it initially doesn't really feel that different at all. Like, in this marathoning process, right, it feels like the movie is just continuing to go on, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because part 1 doesn't really end per se. It just kind of stops.
Yeah,
it's just like okay, it's just like it's like you're reading a book, and then just close it on a random chapter. It just feels like it stops, and then this one's just like it's just resuming from where it left off. But like, just very very bizarrely, honestly, it's weird, man. Honestly,
from my memory, I think that when I started being like, "Ooh, this is cool," and a little bit of a separate film now, is when there's this moment of when Katniss knows that she must kill President Snow. There's like a moment where I think that she legitimately says that in case no one got the showing and the context, so that she had to say it directly to us.
Well, I personally wasn't convinced that Snow needed to die or was a bad guy until Katniss said, "I must kill President Snow," and I'm like, "Oh,
I must kill President Snow because he's a villain in this film series." Yeah,
he's the bad guy. What? Oh, okay, never mind. I thought he was a good guy. He looked like Santa Claus. Okay, I feel like a fool now.
Man, I think that should have been the last line of part 1. I think that would have been a really, really cool cliffhanger instead of like Katniss being choked out by a tweaking Peter. And I feel that's a bit strange. I think that would have been interesting. That imagine this is the final shot of part 1. Katniss goes, "I have to kill President Snow." Cuts to black. Mockingjay, part 1.
God, that would that would probably be more fitting, but God, I'm just imagining that would be so fucking cheesy and not in a good way. I would probably roll my eyes and be like, "Yes, I get it. I know you need to kill President Snow. You don't need to tell me this."
Oh, okay.
But my critiques aside, that probably would have been more of a definitive end for Mockingjay Part 1. I do agree that it would feel like more of a real ending, I guess.
I think that would have gotten me more sufficiently hyped for Mockingjay Part 2 if watching it in a cinema and having to wait a year for it.
Fair.
Yeah, you know what I find very fascinating about this movie, though, is that this is a movie about storming the Capitol from 2015, 6 years too early before the Capitol was actually stormed in our own life.
I can't believe the Hunger Games predicted American politics. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? Trump wasn't even in office yet.
Oh my lord! Are you telling me that this story of the Hunger Games is a reflection on the political state of America? What? No. That's crazy.
Wild as fuck.
You're telling me contemporary media can also be a reflection of the political landscapes of the time and in general? No way. Unheard of.
I'm surprised that there wasn't a scene in the film of Peter saying exactly that for the audience to get that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
I
this
know,
is an
I know.
art. Like, there's some scene where Katniss and Peter, like, they find a painting somewhere and then they reminisce, and Peter goes, "Wow, artwork is interesting how it can reflect the world that we live in." And he looks in the camera, winks, gives us a little wink. Man.
No, I'm just imagining, instead of winking, he just looks into the camera and just gives like a sad stare, just to really let it sink in. Maybe a single tear rolls down his eye as the audience sinks it in.
Looks at the camera, completely straight-faced, for 5 whole unbroken seconds. And then they continue on with the film. That's
so
what I'm
deep.
picturing.
Oh, man, Francis Lawrence, you've done it again.
Man, this is like... So it's a lot more action-heavy, this second piece, right?
Yeah.
It does reflect a little bit the whole Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2, where it's like, the first one is planning. Second one is the fight. this is the war now that is going on. Nowhere near as much weight as that second part. It's no Battle of Hogwarts, but
yeah, Deathly Hallows Part 2. This film is not.
Oh, definitely not. But I think what makes me really this not have that much weight is that we're following like this almost like army corps group now of all these characters that we know and love. But I don't know and love many of them. I know Katniss and Gale. I love Katniss, but then all the other people in this group, I could not give less of a shit about, really.
Well, half the group, I only know them and, like, give a shit because they're played by actors that I know. Like, we got Mahershala Ali, we got Natalie Dormer, fucking, Eldon Henson from Daredevil. Like, there's actors that I know, but I don't give a shit about their characters. They're just there. They're just, they're cannon fodder, basically.
They are. You know that they're gonna die, and you don't really care if they do or not. I don't, anyway.
No, yeah, it feels like they're trying... It feels like they're trying to do something akin to Aliens, where it's like a ragtag group of mercenaries going in to face dangerous odds and save the day. But, like, you know, in Aliens, you know, a lot of the characters, you know, they had some development, quirks and all that. None of these characters have quirks. They're just played by actors that I know. That's it.
And they're all playing it straight. No one's like they don't have sort of different roles that's quite distinct from one another. It feels
or even personalities. Like, one of them is a mute. One of them's a mute.
What is a personality? Trait. Yeah,
exactly. They have things. Like Natalie Dormer's character has Skrillex hair and a head tattoo. Mahershala Ali is Mahershala Ali. Eldon Henson, he's a mute. Like, okay, that's it. Gale is there. I guess like Gale, like, all he has is like, oh, he likes Katniss. That's it.
He has history. Like, that's it. That's the only thing that puts him above the rest of them is that he has history with Katniss, the only one that we really do care about, and we don't want to get hurt in this group.
Yeah.
And like, is this just me, or there's something about that mercenaries group dynamic that I never feel attached to? I never like that trope in action films, and that's why like Alien to me is far superior than Aliens, because I don't like Aliens is the best use of the mercenaries group trope, because they do have their own characters and like really good banter with one another, but generally that sort of construct is never... I think it's because they seem too powerful to me. They're all wearing armor and they all have guns, and it's just not like...
It's too hard for the audience to relate to these characters.
Yes!
It's impossible to relate to mercenaries and all that crap, you know? Like,
unless you probably have like army background or something.
Yeah, that's why like a lot of horror, that's why like, you know, like movies or like horror movies or whatever, where it's like just a bunch of regular people and all that, it's easier to identify with them rather than like, say we're watching The Predator and it's all a group of mercenaries and all that. I don't give a fuck about these people. I can't relate to them. I don't care. Meanwhile in Alien, all the characters felt like real people. Actually, that's literally why one of the reasons why you and I don't really care for the original Predator is because of these characters. They're all mercenaries that like you can't relate to and you don't really feel that much of a connection with, you know? But in Predator, we at least got a somewhat of a sense of their never mind, I revoke my statements. You did not get much of a sense of their personalities. They're just actors that we know.
Yeah, very, very true. You know what I think it is too? Is that it's like, the role of a mercenary is to kill. I don't really think that we naturally want to stand behind the people that their job is to kill things.
Yeah.
It's even though that they, like, this mercenaries group is, like, it's to kill for a good cause, still don't want, like, it just is harder to get behind. It's a lot easier to get behind Katniss in the early films here, when she might need to kill only out of self-preservation because she's in these Hunger Games. And the odds are sort of stacked against her. But anyway, and with not really caring about them, when eventually in the sewers, and we lose quite a lot of them because they start dying, you're like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? So
yeah, but also there's like not really that many stakes because Peter, Gale, and Katniss are gonna survive. So it's just every time there's a new action set piece, it's like, okay, which one of these actors is going to die next? Oh, Mahershala Ali's dead. I forgot that bloody Fennec comes with them. That's actually a problem I have with the Mockingjay films as well. Is that Fennec was a really fun character in Catching Fire. He was fucking wasted in these last two movies. He's barely in Mockingjay Part 1, and then he dies in Part 2. The only thing that was memorable about him in these movies was the joke that you and I were making about how we thought that his girlfriend was his sister.
Oh yeah. That was. Is it like he has no function in the Mockingjay movies, right? Does he do anything that forwards the plot? I can't think of that. I can't think of it.
All he does is get married and die. That's it.
Yeah. Really says a lot about just people in life, right? Just get married and fucking die.
That's that life has two absolutes: marriage and death.
Yeah. Till death do us part. This sewers scene, let's talk about this.
Oh my god.
So we sort of touched already on the weird sort of ambiguity of how far the fantasy elements of this world actually goes. So we've just all that we've really gotten is a bit of magic in the fashion. And isn't this weird? There's the only magic that we see humans possessing and using is only been for fashion purposes. That is it. Yeah. There's no weapons that are fantastical or utilize this ability to conjure fire or anything like that. From what I know, there's nothing like that. The animals, we see a weird dog creature thing that could just be a normal dog, and then we're introduced to these weird wasp things that could just be normal wasps. Anyway, you think, what is going on here? And then we're in the sewers, and eyeless zombies come out of nowhere that look like a combination between I think they call them the trench, all the creatures from the trench in Aquaman and the freaking eyeless creature from Pan's Labyrinth. It's strange, and it hoards them, and it's the only scene in the entire franchise that is remotely like this, where they are infested by some sort of fantastical, non-otherworldly creature.
Yeah, it felt like I was watching. It felt like I was watching The Descent or some shit with all these weird, pale, blind goblin creatures attacking the main cast underground. I'm like, wow, what the fuck what the hell did this turn into? It felt like I was bloody playing Call of Duty Nazi Zombies with the bloody little crawlers. All they needed to do was just spit out Nova 6 gas afterwards. What the fuck?
Also, everyone's reaction to them is very sort of matter of fact.
They're just oh no, a new danger. Not what the fuck is that?
We have not seen anything like that. District 12 doesn't have anything like that, right? None of them would have seen anything like this in their fucking life, and they're just exactly oh well, we gotta get through this, gotta survive. Are you not fucking afraid? Are you not scared?
These are the only creatures that even because you said that with the wasps and the dogs and all that, they are genetically altered, but they still look like what they're supposed to be. Meanwhile, these look like otherworldly beings, and what the fuck? We've never seen these things before. Speaking of never seeing things before, why is there a cat lady in this movie?
Oh, do you mean the best character in the film, Tigress?
That was her fucking name, yeah. Oh, for some reason, I thought her name was Tiger Lily for most of the film, but then I'm like, wait a minute, hang on, that's fucking Peter Pan, I'm pretty sure.
That is Peter Pan. It was comical, the reveal of Tigress, because of the inconsistencies of the supernatural elements of this world, that it's just as we get out of the sewers, right, and we're like, what the fuck was that? What are we in? What is this world, right? And then Katniss knocks on the door and is like, oh, Tigress, it's you. And then it's a fucking half woman, half cat. What?
Who is this character? Have we met her before? Was she in the background in the first movie or something? What the fuck?
No fucking way. And no humanoid creature even similar to this has come up. No humanoid creature that has anything otherworldly has come up before. And now, in the last hour of the last film, we get a character named Tigress, half cat, half woman, come and be a bit of and be the savior for these people. But also, it is mentioned, right? Like that Katniss knows this woman. Like
she seems familiar with her. It's like, where have you met her? We haven't seen her in these movies.
No one is reacting strangely towards her. Where we have seen, we've gotten shots of District 12 of the entire community. We've gotten shots of thousands or hundreds or thousands of people in the capital. Everyone is a normal person, and then there's Tigress, which everyone is normal and chill about.
It has to be explained in the books. It has to be. I cannot wait to talk to Hannah about Mockingjay. It has to be explained better in the books. I beg, please.
Yes, I cannot. Yeah, we need an expert on this.
I will just say though, even though she's completely out of place, Tigress is a bloody legend though. Like, letting them stay in her house and all that, while the heat dies down. What a bloody legend, honestly.
Oh yeah, she's cool. She's also completely out of place though.
Completely in all that.
And then just. She harbors them and then is never seen again. It's just what is the point of that? And the house could have been emptied. It could have been an empty house, and the same function is fulfilled.
I don't even think she has any dialogue in the movie either.
Oh, I think she goes, "Oh, hello, my name is Tigress. I'm a half cat, half woman. You can stay at my house." I think that she does say that, and then she's silent.
Oh, okay. See, I thought her lines went meow.
Oh, okay.
Or some shit like that.
Yeah. When she gets sprayed with water because she's being bad and she's not using the litter box. Yeah.
Bad Tigress, bad. Fuck yeah. Oh my lord.
There's just an awkward scene of them in the just in silence in the house, and they're just all looking at each other, and Gale goes, "So do you shit in a box?"
Oh god. There's a scene where they're all sleeping, they wake up and they see her licking herself like a cat. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing? You can't do that. Oh, you're cleaning yourself. Okay."
Oh, because you're a half cat, half woman.
I get it now.
We are all very familiar with this because we see things like this in our everyday lives in Panem.
Do you reckon she has a poster of Puss in Boots as a hero, or
he is the hero,
or a crush?
He's their Zorro, right?
Oh yeah, true. Maybe these are all connected, man. Maybe these are all connected. Maybe this scene was trying to warn us of the future. Half woman, half cat hybrid, warning us about a certain movie that would come out a couple years later.
Oh,
Cats.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Catwoman, and I'm like, dude, that was years ago. That was a decade.
No. We did not need. No, we needed the warning that we needed for Catwoman was that we were never going to get any more Catwoman movies, because I love the Halle Berry Catwoman movie. I love her searching up on internet search cats women and the cat in time and the hilarious basketball scene. Have you seen Catwoman, Rhys?
I have not seen Catwoman. This is all unfamiliar to me.
It is an experience. It's got Lois Griffin from Family Guy as well.
Oh my god, I'm sold. How could I not be?
It's great. I love that movie. But we're talking about a different Catwoman movie.
Yeah, exactly. Going from Catwoman to Katniss. Nearing the end of this film, it gets even darker. There is this explosion on a crowd that full
of war crime.
Yeah, where Brim gets blown up. The little sister that the whole film, the whole franchise is based off of Katniss wanting to save her, and that's how she gets into the Hunger Games. We see Brim get blown to smithereens.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you call it Brim?
Isn't her name Brim?
No, Prim.
Prim with a P.
Yeah, Prim.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like Primrose.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't want you getting beheaded. I don't want you getting beheaded by the Hunger Games heads.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
No worries.
My savior.
I got you, fam. Hey, I'm the Katniss Everdeen of this podcast. Don't you worry, baby. Don't you worry, Peter.
And how weird is this that these explosions happen and Katniss gets caught up in one and gets knocked unconscious, and then it cuts to black and she wakes up. and the war is sort of over.
She
didn't even make it to the capital, and the war is done. She was not even needed.
Yeah, they kind of just cut away from it. They're just like, yeah, it's done. It's kind of like, oh, it's so weird, man. Oh my god.
I wish that when she wakes up from being knocked unconscious, that the person that's like sitting above her bed and that like explains it all to her goes, "It's okay, the world is saved, and it was all because of you." And then I wish that it just ended there. It just cut to fucking. It just does not have an ending. It just finishes. It finishes, and the ending happens off screen.
I mean, that kind of writing would not feel out of place in this movie. Oh my god, that fucking line that Fennec says right before they enter the city, where he says, "Welcome to the 76 Hunger Games." Oh my lord, I was rolling my eyes. I'm like, that is bad. Like that is just a bad line right there.
That is a trailer line. Lord. Like that line was for the trailer. There are so many trailer lines in all of these films that we were just pointing out as we went through.
Oh, dude, yeah, Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's great. Really, I do love identifying a good trailer line.
I will say I'll give the film this. They really do throw everything at the wall in this one, which makes for a very bizarre viewing experience. But I wasn't bored by it for the most part. I will say that the opening 20 minutes, I was pretty bored by it. Felt like still remnants of Mockingjay Part 1 was still lingering. But once they got to the city, it started getting a bit, weird, a bit wacky, turned into a video game, which I did kind of appreciate.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does feel like a video game at moments.
Yeah.
I felt that in these last probably 20 minutes or so is the only time that I'm convinced that that coin, that is it like President Coin? Do you call it President?
I was just calling her that. I don't know if she goes by that, but Julianne Moore. We'll just call her that.
Julianne Moore. Anyway, when I only start realizing, she's actually an important person and an important character, where I did not realize this beforehand. And there's this like interaction between President Snow and Katniss, where they have this dialogue that is supposed to be like a bit of a nice conclusion to like the war sort of ending and Katniss sort of getting her like retribution, right? And then they tie up Snow, where they have this ceremony to like kill him in front of everyone in this big sort of ceremony, where I have to say, as they're like, this ceremony, ridiculous, it is in a comically large a large monument sort of thing, where they walk from one end to the other, that they do make cuts through this walk to make it seem like it doesn't take that long, but this would have been a good 15-minute walk from one side to the other. The people were constantly cheering on Katniss and the crew as they walked their way up to President Snow.
Oh, it's so weird. Like, I can just imagine, like, if they didn't cut from it, it just Katniss starts doing, like, for maybe, 30 seconds, like, an awkward jog, trying to, speed up the process, and then just stops, and all that kind of crap. It's so weird. It's so inconvenient, man.
Yeah, and then they get there, and it's Katniss who has the power to shoot Snow with her bow, but then just in the last final moment she aims up and shoots Coin, because the whole conclusion of the movie is that it's like this rebellion pretty much is just like trying to make the same thing happen by getting but just sort of reversing the roles and trying to make people of the capital, then almost turning them into a lower class citizen and into district people, and then rising it, instead of it being this equality between the whole thing, it's just further reinforcing the division of Panem.
Where she's no better than Snow,
Yeah, no better than Snow. So then Coin gets killed, Katniss yells at a cat, and then everything is all good. That's the ending of the film.
I love you undersold the yelling at the cat scene, because that might be my favorite scene in the movie, honestly.
Because it is a bit ridiculous.
I actually really do. I generally do like the scene of her yelling at the cat, not because it's funny, but because I remember as when Prim dies, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, why isn't she not reacting? Why isn't she hysterical? But the way I see it is that her yelling at the cat scene is almost like the culmination of all of Katniss letting out all of her pent up trauma and PTSD of all the shit that she's gone through, all the loss that she has experienced. Her yelling at the cat is her way, her exploding and letting it all out. And I think it's a really nice scene, honestly. I genuinely felt really moved by it, where I'm like, damn, this is fucking hell, this is really sad. Oh my god, I actually feel something. And I also credit Jennifer Lawrence, her freak out and all that. Great stuff, man, honestly. And then also, you get to see her yell at a cat, which is also pretty funny as well. So, if you don't want to watch the scene for the deep thematic nature of it, you can just watch it and be like, yeah, yell at a cat, that's relatable.
That's actually an excellent point, because they're trying to really, they're trying to make this cat a symbol of Prim, right? But because, Prim, when they're in danger in the first part and evacuating the bunker, Prim goes back to save this cat, and they just make it out in time.
She pulls an Ellen Ripley trying to go back to the cat.
Yeah, very and it goes with the feeling of that film, with a feeling very alien-like in this sort of small enclosed location. And okay, you're right. Good scene to sort of cap it all off. But we do get an epilogue with an ending on a hill as the wind blows through the grass, and Katniss and Peta are together. He is the true love of her life, and they have a baby together. And all is well. All is good.
All is well, apart from the one time that Peter tried to strangle her, and the other time that he tried to push her into the tar pits, and him having freakouts and all that. Apart from that, though, all is well.
They're trauma bonded, so, they've got what's a little bit of, every couple have their squabbles.
Exactly. Look, they're trauma bonded. They don't have anyone else left in their lives, so, all they have is each other. Actually, I think Katniss's mother's still alive, but I don't think she has any screen time in part 2, so... Oh, I think she had one scene, but that was it, so she's basically good as gone.
Yeah. Well, now she's making her own family, and...
Yeah, exactly.
And I think there's still room for more Katniss story, potentially.
Do you reckon?
I don't feel like it's required, don't feel like it's needed, but because of, so far, the new Hunger Games been a great financial success.
Right.
I think that why wouldn't they? I think that they could, especially too that Jennifer Lawrence has aged, so they can can do Katniss 20 years on sort of thing.
I mean, that is a good point. They've left it they've bookended it, but left it somewhat open-ended enough that there could be a continuation. Would it be necessary, and would I personally want it? Not really, because if you're going to do a follow-up Hunger Games movie, I would rather them have new characters or do something different. But I mean, I don't know. I'd still watch it, honestly. I just don't think that... I think that the way that they wrap up Katniss and Peta, I don't think we really need to see where are they now type meme. I don't really need to see it, nor do I really want to see it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do get it, though.
Yeah, not necessary, but a possibility, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But pretty much we pretty much just watched a 4-hour film. Part 1 and part 2, because they blend into one another so much, it really does just feel like a massive movie. And that is half of the entire franchise, because part 1 and 2 together is longer than Catching Fire and the first Hunger Games. So it is a big task to sit through, and I wonder how it compares to the book. Going to our book correspondent, Hannah, with the details. We're back with our Hunger Games expert, Hannah, and today we're talking about 2 movies but 1 book, Mockingjay. Hannah, what is the experience like of the Mockingjay novel? Because we thought these movies were a bit slow, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that the movies, it's just slow paced, especially after Catching Fire. You get this whole fast pace, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And then it's and can I tell you my honesty on why they did it in 2 parts?
Money.
But also for the times, and the director has regrets about this, because same director. basically at the time Twilight came, and Twilight did a part 1 of the
Breaking Dawn.
And a part 2.
Yeah.
So for that whole time,
they all wanted to copy Harry Potter because Harry Potter made big money off of that.
Yeah, they're like part 1, part 2. Fucking score. Like, we're going.
Yeah.
I shouldn't swear on the podcast. So sorry.
No.
You bleep me out on that.
Don't
one.
worry, Rhys and I've said plenty of heinous shit on the podcast and all that.
Yeah.
So you saying occasional swear words, it should
they
be
were
okay.
Like, score. Like, we have got it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing about Mockingjay is look at the book. It should have to have part 2 and part 1 when it's the same size as Catching Fire.
Hannah is comparing the thickness of these novels, and they're both
literally the exact same. I'm pretty sure.
May I have a look?
Yeah.
Hell, I think Mockingjay looks shorter, like a tiny bit shorter than Catching Fire.
So Mockingjay seems to have around 450 pages.
Okay, and drum roll.
And Catching Fire has 470 pages.
It is a shorter book that they decided to split into 2 parts. That no wonder, Rhys, that we kept complaining about part 1 feeling like an incomplete movie. Because they just split the book down the fucking middle.
That's the thing with part 1. It just feels they really lengthened a lot of the scenes, and because you don't know where Peter is, the whole thing, and it kind of like it's like a slow build up, and then when she sees Peter, it's like and it.
Yeah, it just stops. It doesn't end, it just stops.
Imagine being in cinemas watching that.
Oh, my
And then having
Lord.
to wait a year. Like, for example, when we watched Infinity War and Endgame together. Like, when he does, when the whole thing happens, we're like, oh, that's... Like, I think I was crying after that film.
Oh, I do not blame you. I think everyone in that cinema was crying.
A lot of people... It was a very emotional time, but I think what worked about, like, something like Infinity War's endings, that the movie itself still felt like a complete film.
Yeah, and it worked really well because it's like they were defeated, and then you came out as an audience like, oh, and then when you come back, you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Because you have so much investment and so much excitement for this franchise. Whereas with Mockingjay, like...
The story exists out there, but they haven't told it yet.
Yeah, like, it was kind of like Peter comes in...
Peter comes in, he's addicted to meth, and now that's all we know.
He got fucked up after working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and now boom, we've got to wait a year, guys. Sorry, fuck you.
But how is the book better paced? Do you think? Like
the book is much better paced, and it explores more of like look at this. Like you see, they do have part 2 here. So they do have part 2.
Oh, well, they actually...
The assault.
Oh,
they actually...
Oh
my word.
That. But then again, like that's just for the shock value of the reader, because you think of Peter as this like loving and soft character. He's so kind, and then he comes back and he's been stung with jabberjays, and he hates Katniss.
Yeah, he's been like brainwashed and tortured.
Yeah.
Which I can understand it.
Getting a bit emotional because
I'm getting really choked up.
I wanted Peter and Katniss to be okay as well.
No, exactly. No, but like I feel like what they were trying to do with like ending the first movie with like ending the first part with like having like Peter be all fucked up and all that, and having like this big gut punch of a moment. I can see what the crew were trying to do with like a big like kind of almost shock value ending. Having like the love interest like just like try to murder Katniss and like him just being like irreversibly messed up, but like. I just feel like it just kind of, it lacked the weight. It lacked enough of, like, proper weight to end the movie on that.
Yeah.
Like if it was maybe, like, during the third act they introduced that and then kind of wrap up part 1, then it would feel more impactful than just, like, stopping the movie rather than actually finishing it.
Well,
what do you think, Chris?
Well, it's because they've got 2 hours before that is just stagnant. That's why there's no build to that. It is stagnancy, flat, and then that happens. And then...
and do you know what, also with the setting, it's before, like, I think they do, like, the rebel... Like, they do their, like...
It's before they go to the capital and all that.
So you're kind of just stuck.
Yes.
In this, like, same kind of territory. You've got... I think the main... You got... Joanna comes back with Peter. Mm-hmm. You've got Finnick. So, like, Rhys is looking at it now. But another thing also about the movies that really annoyed me was with the Hunger Games, and they have a cat.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the cat.
No, not
the cat.
The cat.
And
okay, which cat? Are you talking about a normal cat or a humanoid cat?
Yeah.
What are you...
Like the continuous... If you guys watch the movies, they switch cats.
Oh, they do? Wait, no, I think they do. I think I actually noticed that like, cause I think in the first movie... It was I'm maybe getting them mixed up, but I remember like at one point it's a ginger cat, and then it's a grey cat.
And I thought it was was like, no, what's going on?
I vaguely remember that.
That is very, very dumb.
Well, what are you talking about with the...
Okay, this is a big question that I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, there's a random character that comes in at the end of part 2 named Tigress.
Yes.
Who is
Hannah, who is Tigress and what is
I don't know Tigress.
I think no, Hannah. Before you say anything, I think I might know who Tigress is,
okay.
but I need to hear it from you.
Okay, guys, this might be a hybrid of the prequel. Tigress, when Tigress takes off her hoodie, you think, what? That's Snow's cousin.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that her name was Tigress in like the prequel.
So you know the one that...
Why did she turn... They did not explain that in the movies that she turned into a cat.
No, they don't.
What?
And the thing is, she's not a cat. She's just got the scars. There's scars. Like, she's tattooed herself.
So, also...
So she said Snow doesn't think I'm pretty anymore.
I think it's also because, like, her face is all, like... Because she's, like, taking, like, a fuck ton of surgery and all that. Yes!
She's done a lot of stuff.
It's just cosmetic surgery.
It's cosmetic.
Yes.
Yeah. But basically, Snow... So she kind of... And that's why in the prequel, like, it's so weird when you see her as a human self.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Corio. And she's really supportive of him.
Yeah.
But their relationship dynamic changes, which they don't really show the gap in the book. But basically, their relationship dynamic falls once
he starts becoming a bit of a prick and all that, just for lack of a better word.
I guess that arc is shown in the prequel movie and in the book when it's like instead of her calling him Corio, she calls him Coriolanus. You look just like your father, and that's where their dynamic changes because she helped him a lot, and then he doesn't think I'm pretty anymore.
So is this something that is actually spoken about in the book? Because in the movies. There is none of this gap.
Yeah,
there's none of this gap.
We're just keep in mind we're just talking about Mockingjay. We'll talk about Tigress and like when we get to Songbirds and Snakes.
Let's have a look, guys.
Because like I'm very curious.
I'm just gonna read the book real quick.
Because my favorite part because like Rhys, yours are my favorite part.
Also
of Mockingjay. It's just like they don't explain her at all.
Mockingjay, Gale is such a asshole.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, well, he killed Katniss' sister.
Yeah, responsible for a bit of a war. Well,
he killed Katniss. What?
Well, because like, isn't he? Because they kind of hint in the movie. No, wait. Because like in the movie, they hint that he was the one that was partially responsible for calling.
He called the bombings.
Calling the bombing. Because they kind of hinted at that in the movie, but like I feel like it wasn't really clear to Rhys and I and all that.
Basically, he
because I kind of thought it was President Coin was the one to like kind of organize the bombing, wasn't it? Coin?
Yeah, Coin, and I think his idea or something. There was like he was behind killing Prim.
We've got no idea.
Can I ask this question? I feel like I should have asked this during the first book review. But how is the books told? Is it told like in
from
like
Katniss's point?
Oh, so it's like a first person kind of like perspective, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like
that's why. Another thing that would be different from the movies and the books is in the prequel as well. In all the arena shots, is you get more viewing. Like the movie gives you more understanding of what's going on in the arena because you're basically getting a story from Katniss's perspective, but in the movies you're getting like perspectives from what the Capitol's doing, how they're controlling everything.
Yeah,
so you're getting
interesting.
More of, and I guess the movie makers did that because they're like, well, if we do it from Katniss's perspective, you're not going to feel as immersed, as understanding
you would also,
or feeling tied to the...
I feel like you would also barely get like any like kind of like scenes with like people who say like President Snow or whatever.
Yeah, you would understand.
That's interesting. Wow.
Well, that probably makes a lot more sense and is probably more accurate than in the first Hunger Games. And why it feels so weird is that it's more sort of hyperfixated on Katniss's perspective.
It's trying to emulate the same kind of vibe of the books and all that.
Because when you think about it, like, it's basically following her. And I feel like that is actually quite... It was cool in the way where it's like you don't know what's going on around you, so you're kind of like, you're scared.
You're in her... You're being put in her shoes,
Whereas then in Catching Fire, you're getting more of what other groups are doing.
Which I feel like you would have needed to kind of do, really, to like get like a sense of not only like other characters but the world.
And also, again, like the berries, like they have in the first, like we could, like that's
they're their own character.
Like the berries in the end of the first film, and then when I think I forgot the game maker's name, but when he goes in and he's locked with the berries, it has a bit of reflection to Snow and how he doesn't kill with blood on his hands, but he kills with like manipulation.
With berry juice.
Yeah.
Berry juice.
He kills with poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Is it
Question
as much
time.
of a weird fucking out of left field thing when the characters in Mockingjay randomly come across sewer mutant weird sewer mutant things when they're in the sewers?
Yeah,
the weird eyeless creatures?
Yeah. When like Fennec dies and all that. Yeah, what is up with that?
Yeah,
that is basically what Snow did. So Snow knew that they were going to be there.
Okay.
Snow created those creatures. So a lot of those
Right.
creatures that are created are creatures that the Capitol creates for destruction.
Right.
Yep.
So the Mockingjay, the Mockingjay?
Yeah.
That was actually created as a bird for destruction. That
Yeah.
was created to
Well-
listen to the Capitals, but it didn't work for them.
Because in the prequel they kind of like explain it a bit more. They actually kind of like tell us about like a lot of these like
that was a horrible scene.
genetic abomination creatures and all that. In the actual Hunger Games movies, they never really they kind of hint towards like these animals being like genetically modified and like mutated and all that, but like they really don't harp on it that much. It's just very matter of fact about it. It's like we got
are
like
a wolf.
we got like these genetically modified wasps and talking birds.
They
It's
do
not
not.
like a Jabberjay. It's like they don't.
They barely do anything with
They
that.
Whereas I
don't-
think there was like a one little segment of like the host saying like, "This is a Jabberjay."
Yeah, but that's
It'll
it.
sting you.
That's
And
it,
that's
though.
it, yeah,
That's it. They don't
exactly.
do anything with it.
And there's nothing telling you where they actually came from
No.
in
Yeah.
the
Whereas
original
in
trilogy.
the books, they tell you where they come from.
Right, yeah, no, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
We had a big problem watching these movies, being like, where the
going
fuck,
on?
like, what is the fantasy limit to
Yeah,
this world?
where it's just like, where are these, like, are these just, like, actual, like, creatures? Were they, like, created?
And
Were they
you
born?
know what
Like,
I
what's
love
going
about
on?
this franchise though is it's fiction and there's a lot of like fantasy elements about it, but you get so sucked into its reality because this is something that's like quite real. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff about it where it's like, ooh, like,
Yeah, like Catwomen.
like the
half
thing
cat, half
about
women.
like
And weird
game
mutant
shows, like
creatures.
it actually gives you a depiction. But like the depiction of like reality. So like sometimes like why are they dressed up like that? Like I think of the Met Gala and like even just the Capitol and what they wear. It's like
Yeah, when
like
I think...
the half cat, half women at the Met
Yeah,
Gala.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they did have that.
Well,
you're
Doja
right.
Cat was, like, a weird cat
you're
lady and all
Yeah.
The
that.
sewer mutants that are under those suits.
Dude,
yeah.
why didn't they get Doja Cat to play a young tigress in Songbirds and Snakes instead of Hunter Schafer? They should have got Doja Cat to play him.
I totally
She
do.
starts singing like you.
I do get you though. Like it's like the glamorification of violence, right? That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that's very much like prominent in our reality.
But guess what? It also shows a highlight on us as the viewer because we get excited on watching this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do get a
ourselves.
kick out of
Yeah.
it,
So it's kind of like commentary on like people get so like everyone was very involved in the commentary of the prequel, and then it's like we're so interested in like the deaths and what's happened and the politics that it's like we're not as you know.
There's a little bit of President
as-
Snow in all of us.
Yeah, we're all
Yeah.
like we're very similar, and like think about like you know Squid Games, and they had that recent Netflix show.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
people kind of root for that because it's scary, but it's like you're the viewer.
It's we're obsessed with sport, right?
Yeah.
Humans have been obsessed with sport
AFL,
for
yes.
like thousands of
Well,
years.
yeah, since the dawn of man,
Yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing like people fight and like gladiators, right? Like Roman gladiators.
I do love Gladiator.
Like I mean like the actual gladiators.
Yeah, did you know that like gladiators were actually a real thing?
Yeah, exactly. Hundreds of years
we
ago,
had to watch that
before
thing.
TV.
So I know Kane and Rhys from school, and we watched that for English.
Yeah, we probably should have explained
You guys,
that.
like the gladiator movie.
Yeah, I didn't
Yes.
even explain how I know you guys.
We picked up her from the street.
Yeah.
We went
I'm
down.
Susan Collins' replacement.
We went
I
down.
guess.
She's
Has
a
anyone read these books? Has
She's-
anyone read these books?
She
please?
is Suzanne Collins' representative and lawyer.
Yeah.
Don't sue me.
But I totally agree with you. I need to say that when looking through the book just then of Mockingjay,
Yeah.
the first part ends at around 150 pages. So no wonder the first part of these two movies are so slow and nothing happens.
Boring.
Is that it's 150 fucking pages.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is nowhere near enough.
And they stretch it out so much, and I think the director's attempt was to really make you connect maybe with the character Prim and maybe also another thing that they
fuck
explore
her.
more in.
Fuck her, she's dead. Who cares?
She's gonna die anyway.
Another thing is they explore is the mum's relationship compared to in the books.
Yeah,
movies. 'Cause
we did not
much
really get it. We got like maybe one
So
scene of the mum in Mockingjay.
Yeah, so in the books, the mum is kind of explained as quite like Katniss is the caretaker for Prim. After the death of her dad, it's kind of like her mum's just like not looking after Prim at all. So that's why Katniss has that very much motherly relationship with her own sister.
Right.
So she doesn't. She's disciplined. Like she just doesn't have that connection with her mum. She kind of looks down at her mum in the books, where she's like, oh, like look at you, like you can't even like do this or like. And I think her relationship with her mum isn't as close as you would think in the books. Like it's very much like there she is,
She's just existing. She's just there.
I feel like the movies portrayed the love triangle really well though, because in Katniss's inner monologue as well, she starts to warm up to Peter, but then she thinks like she has this thing about Gale where it's like this fantasy of he's the protector, we can run away together, and that holding on of the dream.
Oh, how perfect is that then? That he is the one that calls in this bombing like strike thing.
Yeah.
The protector is like attacking and is now the danger.
Yeah, he's
so
doing
it's like,
the antithesis of what Katniss saw him as.
So this construct in her mind completely just like deconstructs.
Yeah.
So then Peter is the only option.
Yeah.
Actually, that sounds terrible. Peter, you're the only option now.
He's the only one left by default.
There's something that Peter...
You haven't killed my sister.
It's like talking about relationships in general. You need someone who has that balance. So she's much of a fighter, but there's a side, and this is, I loved, out of everything about the Mockingjay though, even though the baby looked really weird, the epilogue scene was exactly like the books where she's holding the baby and she's there, and it's like there are much worse games to play. Is that a line from the book? Yeah, exactly. When I say this epilogue scene,
I was gonna say the line is a very on the nose, but I feel like that's a very much a book line, which would make sense.
It was a beautiful ending.
Yeah, right.
Oh, the epilogue, it's only like a page or two.
I'll tell them how I survive it. I'll tell them that on bad mornings, it feels impossible to take pleasure in anything because I'm afraid it could be taken away. That's when I make a list in my head of every act of goodness I've seen someone do. It's like a game. Repetitive, even a little tedious, after more than 20 years. But there are much worse games to play.
So they really didn't say, it's just like a game. A Hunger Game.
Yeah,
a game theory!
Oh my god.
It's just like, well, you heard it here first that you got to have a balance with boys, ones that are sensitive,
and
strong,
also,
but don't kill your sister.
Yes, that is nice.
Her song that she sings to Rue is I think sung in the epilogue. Even, I think Effie and Haymitch don't have a romantic relationship in the books.
Yeah.
They showed that in the movie.
Yeah, very out of fucking nowhere.
That's like in
Trauma.
like just like a random little sprinkle.
One thing that I question about, like I think Suzanne Collins does this on purpose, leaves a lot of like loose ends. What happened to the host? He's gone.
Oh, Stanley Tucci. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah,
Oh,
whatever happened to him?
Catching fire, and then
He probably just went to go host other game shows.
Broadcast with Peter and.
Probably just went to go host other TV shows.
Maybe he's just in hiding because he doesn't want to get cancelled by the new Republic of Panem.
Another thing about Snow's character too and Coin, and maybe we talk about this in the prequel. I just realised we've got a whole other book to talk about. But Coin, Katniss, you get more of her inner monologue in the books of why she shoots Coin.
Yeah,
and she realises that Coin is worse than Snow because Snow does things calculated, like he kills for a calculated reason. He does things, whereas Coin is like, we're going to take revenge. We're going to do this to the capital kids.
Right, yeah.
And like, it's like, why are you still
there's more of a bloodlust behind what Coin wants compared to Snow, where he does it as almost like
and Gale's
like kind of like business. Like with Snow, it's
Peter's
more like
not
business.
Supporting it, and Gale's like, yeah, why not? They've done this to you, and she's like, but are you kidding me? Like. And, there's that whole confrontation with Snow, and Snow's like, you really think I would kill kids? And we would never lie. And that's something that follows in the prequel, which we'll talk about next, I think.
Next week.
On Love Island.
Would I say that I've been satisfied with the series? Was this ending a satisfying payoff to the original run of Hunger Games, not including the prequel? I'd say yeah. I'd say I'm pretty satisfied with this final end. Like as it wrapped up, I will say that I did feel, satisfied. I again, Deathly Hallows Part 2, this film is not. But I don't feel like my time was wasted with this final chapter. I feel that it all wrapped up really nicely. Am I in love with this movie? Not really. I think it's just kind of fine. It's weird. It's like really weird, but I don't know. I think all in all, I think this is it's a fine movie with a pretty nice end. It's a fine movie with a pretty nice ending. I don't know why I repeated myself, but yeah, I just really needed to hammer it home just in case the audience members didn't get it.
Yeah, you got to explain directly because in the real sense of the franchise.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed it as well, but I think it totally lost steam going throughout. I think that imagine how much smoother and cleaner this franchise could exist if it was a trilogy. I think it makes sense as a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
But as a quadrilogy, I don't know. I feel like that is probably a little bit wrong. But it's not ending as a quadrilogy anyway, because we've got one more left, baby. We've got A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes coming to you next week. And don't forget to check out our Facebook page at MarathonMeOfficial, all one word, and our Instagram, MarathonMe_official, to keep up to date on the podcast. And hey, if you want to get into contact with us, email us at marathonmepodc, yes, the letter C, @gmail.com. Like a podcast without the ask.